Welcome to our narrated PowerPoint about the means, reasons and opportunities model. This model is a really helpful way to think about communication and how to support communication development. In order for communication to be successful, we need to support children to develop not only a means to communicate, but also help to provide reasons to communicate and plenty of opportunities. The first part of the model is the means. This is how we communicate. Take a few moments to think about a conversation you have had today. You will have used both verbal and non-verbal means. Have a look at the two lists on the slide and see if you can identify any of the ones you used. We can separate the means of communication into verbal and non-verbal. Verbal communication is generally what we say and how we say it. Non-verbal communication really adds to the verbal means and gives clues to the listener about the meaning of what we are saying. Let's think about how we use verbal and non-verbal communication together to send our message. As you can see on the slide, verbal communication and non-verbal communication are used together to send clear messages. A child with speech, language and communication needs may have difficulties with verbal communication, non-verbal communication or both. This means that we have to become expert interpreters. Imagine that this is a child who has difficulties with verbal communication. Think about what is he trying to tell you and what you could say in response. Interpreting a child's non-verbal communication requires careful observation and then using simple language to place meaning onto what you observe. For example, you look cross. Similarly, if a child is pointing at a toy that's out of reach, you might observe and then interpret by saying, "You want the car," and fetching it for him. For children with speech, language and communication needs, as well as interpreting their non-verbal communication, we need to actively teach them the non-verbal skills that can help them to get their message across. As well as natural gesture, this could include teaching Makaton signs, introducing communication books with pictures and symbols, and the Picture Exchange Communication System or PECS. Some children may benefit from more high-tech communication aids which can speak the message for them. We are now going to think about reasons to communicate. In order for communication to happen in the first place, there needs to be a reason. The reasons young children usually communicate are for meeting basic needs like being hungry or tired, and adults then interpret their behaviour to make sure that these needs are met. By adults interpreting and responding to their behaviour, children gradually learn that they are able to send a message and they learn to communicate intentionally. As children develop, their reasons to communicate increase. Instead of just communicating to meet their needs, they begin to share and find out information and express preferences and emotions, as well as making social connections. Let's take a closer look at these reasons. As we've just explained, most children have an expanding list of reasons to communicate. Children with social communication difficulties and autism often require support to make requests and share information. This means that adults will need to create these reasons for them. Let's think about ways that we can do this. Providing choices, such as "would you like a banana or an apple?" gives the child a language model and a visual prompt to help them make their choice. Giving pieces of a motivating toy or snack bit by bit will give the child repeated reasons to request more of the item. Playing with high-interest toys that are hard to operate will encourage the child to request help from the adult. We're going to look at a few more reasons on the next slide. Another way to create a reason is by making mistakes on purpose, which we sometimes call creative stupidity. An example of this might be getting the words of a well-known story or song wrong on purpose, or using an object in a funny or unexpected way. Another way is pausing during a motivating activity, which gives the child the reason to tell you that they want you to continue and they want more of the activity. And having toys in hard-to-open containers or out of reach, like on a high shelf, also creates reasons. The child needs to ask you for help in order to get to play with the toy that they want. We need to be aware that if a child has difficulty with communication, there is a risk that adults might anticipate their needs. This reduces their reasons to communicate, so rather than anticipating, we can help by creating reasons and sharing these reasons with other members of the team. Now we're going to look at the final element of the model, opportunities.
The final part of the model is opportunities to communicate. This includes having a range of different people, times and places, a shared communication system, and shared interests. Children with communication difficulties often have a restricted range of people that they can communicate with. These could include their immediate family and a limited number of staff and peers in school. Imagine for a moment only being able to communicate successfully with one or two people in our lives, and how frustrating this would be, especially if those people aren't around. Everyday routines such as snack time, break time, and home time are good times to build in opportunities and should be offered regularly. Everyone working with the child should be aware of these opportunities, and this will make the communication opportunities much more likely to happen regularly and more successful for the child. Motivation and shared interests will also create more opportunities. For younger children, joining in with how they like to play is a good way to encourage longer interactions. For older children, talking about subjects that interest them will do the same thing. It's worth considering planning in advance to schedule in lots of opportunities throughout the day. Different activities, times of day, different people, and different situations and environments will all offer opportunities for your child to communicate. To help us consider the opportunities our children have to communicate, let's start by thinking about opportunities we might have had. Maybe you've been on a walk recently. It may have been around your local park. Imagine you met a friend or neighbour and you had a chat about the weather. These were all communication opportunities. Now think about a child you work with. When are there opportunities in the school day? Where does this communication opportunity take place? Who do they interact with and what do they interact about?
So now we've talked about all the three areas, let's think about bringing them together to support a child's communication. Many of us will have learnt a language at school, so we will have had the means to communicate at some level in that language. But without being in that country or around speakers of that language, we have neither the reasons nor the opportunities, and that's why we don't make progress and become fluent speakers. This would be true of a child with communication difficulties. Suppose they use a communication book as their means of communication. If they don't have access to their book or opportunities in the day to interact with people who are familiar with their system, they will not become independent and successful communicators. Similarly, if they're spending time with familiar adults who can anticipate their needs, they will have no reasons to communicate, and spontaneous communication won't develop. So we need to make sure that all parts of this model are considered. The highlighted area in the centre of our model is where effective communication would take place. If any of the elements are missing, then functional communication cannot happen. Regardless of a child's particular communication needs, we would encourage you to make sure that there is an overlap of the means, reasons, and opportunities. When a child is supported in all of these areas, whether that's a toddler with delayed physical skills or a teenager with a stammer, then they will be in a stronger position to achieve their communication potential. Next, we've got a quiz to check your knowledge of the means, reasons, and opportunities model. Good luck. We hope you enjoyed the quiz and that you're now confident in understanding what is meant by the terms means, reasons, and opportunities. Now it's time to think about the children you support. We'd like you to think about a child in your setting and how you can support their communication. But before you do this, take a look at our completed action plan for a child who uses the picture exchange communication system as their means of communication. They only use this in a limited way due to lack of opportunities and reasons. We want to make sure that they can use PECs to require more items and communicate with a wider range of people in different settings. Now it's your turn to plan. Choose one child with SLCN in your setting that you support and complete the means, reasons and opportunities diagram for them. Think about how you could extend their communication using the headings on the right-hand side. It's important to keep updating the model regularly to monitor their progress and plan their next steps. Thank you for completing this PowerPoint training. We hope you found it useful. If you have any questions or would like to find out more about other training courses and narrated PowerPoints, please email us. Thank you.